I'm going to start the share in a moment. Just like to thank you all for joining. I mean, the subject is extremely hot. There's a lot going on, and it's really difficult to keep up with so many things happening. Just today, I was trying to get some of the latest news, and I mean, I had to stop because it's just impossible. I was about to miss the deadlines because I just couldn't find a way to get everything that was happening just in the past 2 days, maybe. So I did try to bring some of the news for you guys, and I will try to keep it a little bit short because we have a lot of things to go through. And I am afraid we might run out of time quite soon if we just allow ourselves to go through with it. And so we are respectful to everyone who came up here on time. I'm going to start a little bit slowly and leave some time for people to join. And let's see how this works here. So now I can see the participants again, which is quite a bit, and then I can move forward. So hopefully you all can see the screen I'm sharing with you. And the idea that I had when I thought about bringing this subject to our group is to discuss a little of how AI is influencing everything, but especially trying to bring some of this focus on creation. It doesn't need to be image creation. It can be creation of any kind. It can be text. You can be a blogger. You can be an image creator of any sorts with your cell phone or with a fancy computer system, or you can edit videos. It doesn't matter. Everything is being touched in a way by AI. And this is sort of what I wanted to get in this discussion and see how we can get the different opinions and different ideas and try to evolve together. And for this, what we are going to try to follow, and it's going to be tight, but I hope we can do it. I'm going to try to go quickly through some of the latest news. I try to keep it with the most important things, but yeah, there's too much going on, and especially the past 7 to 10 days were again quite busy. So let's see, maybe we skip some of them, maybe we enter a bit more in details. And then we have with us Selman. Selman is a specialist in the field. He will have the chance to talk to you in depth about why he is this specialist, why we are so happy to have him join and share with us the knowledge that he has. And he is probably going to try to put into our non-techie minds the nits and grits of the AI world. And this is probably going to be a challenge for somebody who has studied so much and in depth to put it to people who just want to go there, click a couple of buttons and have it all done, which is sort of my case. But I'm sure he's going to do a great job trying to teach us how these things work. Then we are going to dive in, but not really deep, into some of the tools. I'm going to try to touch a bit on some of the things we can do with GPT or ChatGPT or the other variations, some of the ways to generate images. And the point here is it would be impossible to go into details of each of these tools. There are too many and they're too different, and there's so much we can do. So maybe if this really resonates with enough people from our group, we can do some follow-up meetings in which we can go in depth and explore how it works, the many ways you need to customize and interact with the prompting and with the tools, so you can get anything out of it, unless you're just there playing with the tool and hoping to get a beautiful image that you're probably not going to use afterwards. And in the end, hold tight. The idea is that we can have an open forum in which we are going to debate and see how many of us are in the team of the dystopia? So AI is going to rule the world, Musk is going to be the president, and we are all doomed? Or are we entering the latest and greatest phase in creation and assisted living? So this is a bit part of the debate that I think can be fantastic if we can get into that. And something to keep in mind is that this is just the small tip of the iceberg. There's so much going on. Things are just starting to be developed. Text to video is just starting to exist and is still very bad at the moment, but it's going to be insane. And we already have some amazing examples. And there's so much that might happen. This is something that we're going to enter a bit more soon. And what I would like us to this is my take, but we can change it at any time. I would try to keep on the positive side of it, not only because that's the way I like to live, but also if we just go into the negative, we're going to spend like 2 hours here just talking about Terminator and the end of the world. So if that happens, okay, well, at least we hoped it would be good and we enjoyed it while we could. So one of the things that is amazing from this is we can simplify so many tasks. I mean, I can compare this with these tiny robots, the cleaning robots that just go there and clean it up for us. And it's much easier and better than if we would have to go there, assemble the vacuum cleaner and go and clean up everything. So in a way, this is how I see what might happen with so many areas. And Selman, please feel free to jump in anytime if you wish. I'm going to send it to you soon enough, but if you will have points that you want to add, just jump in at any time. And some of the things that are already happening quite a lot is that you can use, for example, here ChatGPT to summarize text or write messages. In this case, this is a video of ChatGPT composing the blog post that I actually posted. I just needed to correct some of the things, but ChatGPT did most of the heavy lifting for me. So it was like having an intern that got almost everything set. I just needed to steer it a bit and correct some points and put my tone into it. But it took me less than a third of the time that it would have taken. And so many other things. So you can translate text from whatever languages. You can ask ChatGPT to guide you through complex things that you have no clue how it is done. You can even pretend that you are talking to your grandma, and ChatGPT will teach you how to make napalm. But that is illegal for OpenAI, so don't try to do it. It's just fun to read the stories of people who have been tricking ChatGPT into giving some crazy information. And this is something I'm sure none of you have ever done, which is making a presentation in whatever software you could use, PowerPoint or Apple's or Google Slides, whatever. And this is something that can be very big. This is a demo video. I'm going to try to keep the videos not so often here in this chat, but this one is one that I really wanted to bring, and I hope you can hear the audio that is coming out of this. But this is an automator for presentations. So you go there, you type, what is your idea? What is your concept? And AI builds a presentation for you. It builds the slides, it finds images, puts everything in a cohesive way. And then you can go there and you can just ask AI to correct the text or summarize or develop a little bit further or include a slide or whatever it is. So you can just go there and have your presentation done for you. And the demo is amazing. It's not still going in public, but it's another thing that is going to happen. And I think it might really make life much, much easier. I used to work for a bank in Brazil, and we were really just doing presentations. And something like this, I mean, would get half of the marketing department fired at the time, because that's all we used to do. I hope there's nobody from that time listening. Some other thing that you can do already. This is my website. I was browsing with Edge from Microsoft, and I just have ChatGPT on the side, and I can just select some text and ask ChatGPT to summarize, to explain it to me, to translate it, or make a list, or transform this recipe into a shopping list. So this is absolutely phenomenal. And it can even send it to your mobile and just open it there and you have it done. Or if we would have Amazon here, you could just send it to Amazon and have it delivered to you without even seeing. You just remember that when the statement for the credit card comes later. And I lied to you guys a bit. You are already being submitted to AI right now. I'm testing one AI tool in Zoom, which is this meeting recap, which should, after the meeting is over, get the transcripts done and evaluate the text. And it's also evaluating how much we are really into the presentation. If people are getting tired, it should tell me here, yeah, people are bored of you talking, send the word to Selman soon. So I will share with you the results afterwards, because this is the first time I had the chance to see this thing in action. And some things that are not on the menu, but we might tackle them at another time. So one of them is this downside that some people say about echo worries, because ChatGPT, large language models training and the computing power behind it burns through a lot of water. This is just one example. It uses so much electricity. There's a lot of issues that might be caused, but in a way are countered by the increase in productivity. So this is a huge talk on itself. I'd be happy to join one like this, but this is not the idea for tonight. It's not that we cannot talk about the negatives, but not specifically these points here. As I said, something specific about each of the tools like Leonardo.ai or any of the stable diffusion models or Midjourney, we can do this at another time. But tonight, this is on a surface level on these tools. And also, okay, yeah. So just going into some of the news, and I'll try to keep this quick if we can. We had Auto-GPT, which is another version of ChatGPT that does not have some of the limitations, because this one you can connect it to the internet and it's going to go there. It's like a missile. You just fire it and it's going to keep on going until it hits the goal. It does not have as many parameters as the ChatGPT has. It has way less parameters, but this is open source. And this is something that you can really just program it there. It goes and it starts to do everything until it gets the answer. There are some amazing things if you follow on Twitter or some other social media that people have done with it, and it's just insane. There's one guy, he just asked, what is the meaning of life? And ChatGPT just went there for 660 million whatever characters and started coming up with an answer that was absolutely vague. I didn't get anywhere, so sorry for the spoiler. But the concept is quite interesting. There's another version, which is the Open Assistant, which is like a gamified version of ChatGPT, which is also coming here, and they are just popping. Just today, I saw 2 other versions that are there, and the most amazing of them is now Truth GPT from our friend Elon, and the same guy who said he would want that the developments in AI would be stopped is the guy who is now starting with his own AI company, which I find at least, yeah, funny. There were some intriguing research papers. So Meta is also diving into it, and there are some very bad animations that you can do with this demo softwares. You can just put your face on a clumsy dancing Minecraft-like puppet, but they're putting their feet there. So yeah, might be something that might also come out. And something that is much more amazing is Firefly is really jumping into Adobe CC. And there are some really gorgeous things that Adobe showed that might be soon coming to whoever has the Adobe CC environment. Sorry for the guys with Capture One like Daniel, who's probably there. I love Capture One, but this one might be really amazing. I'm going to play a video and I hope, can you guys hear it? Just put some hand if you can hear it. Okay. So you can, somehow it just restarted, sorry. You can just generate music. You type it there, the kind of music that you want to accompany your video, and it will find. Also the sound effects. You can just go there and type what kind of sound effects you want, and it will do it for you. You can change the look, for an example, to golden hour, like they're doing here, just by typing. You can do local editing with a face or generate captions. This is old news already. But this, you can create text animations. You would have to go into After Effects, and that's insane. And have it analyze B-roll for you. You just type what you want, it evaluates your media and finds it for you. And this one is absolutely my most fantastic favorite. It can analyze it and generate a storyboard for you. That is absolutely mind-blowing. When I saw it now, that's not April 1st. It's absolutely mind-blowing what they already have coming. And okay, it's almost like after saying this, I should have inverted these two slides now that I'm on it, because now Davinci Resolve is just like boring, but they just announced a lot of new things. It's like 150 new features, and many of them use AI. I do have the link, and I will send this to you all in the end. And I mean, it can do a lot. It can go directly to TikTok. It can do AI captioning. It can do relighting. It can do a lot of the things that Adobe also announced. But Adobe's is, yeah, I mean, that video is really phenomenal. And it's obvious that not everything is shiny. So this looks like me trying to speak German. It's not Yoda speaks wrong, but it's me trying to speak German. So a dark side there is. And so in the news, you could see that there was this huge fake hit that was done using AI. They just trained some models to mimic the voice of these two guys that I had no idea who they were. And they've created a music video, and that was absolutely viral. In 2 days, it had more than 8.5 million views. And the guys just did not know it. And the funny thing is, you have in one side people that are talking about copyright and complaining about it, and on the other side you have people like David Guetta, who is absolutely phenomenally famous, saying that, okay, this is pretty much how it's going to be. And he actually trained a model to mimic Eminem's voice to use in one of his latest clips. So this is in a way or another something that might disrupt the industry like it was with the downloads and streaming and everything. So this might be something big for the music industry again. And this is a huge discussion on itself also, copyright. I mean, not copyright, but copyright properly written. And there's a lot of things going on about copyright. And on one side, you have Firefly, who Adobe is already embedding in the image watermark. And on the metadata, it's also created by AI. And another software like Midjourney, they claim that, and it's written, that you own whatever you create. You're free to do whatever you want with it. So this becomes curious when you see, for an example, people go there and tell it to create something Pixar style. So it goes exactly like Pixar dolls or puppets or whatever. You can have Toy Story characters. So it's really complex, and there is this, it's not a fine line, it's a huge wall between being inspired and copying. So there's a lot of issues still to come until this gets to a harmonic place. And just to make sure, this is not legal advice. If you do something and you get sued for it, I am not responsible. Just send it to me so I can post it so you get more publicity, but I'm not responsible for you getting sued to anything that you use that you saw here. And not only from the dark things we can see on this AI-powered tools, there's a lot more to it. And this one is also, it's quite long. It's a TED Talk with the guys from ChatGPT and OpenAI. And this is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's a very long talk, it's half an hour, but they go through a lot of the things. But the most amazing part of it to me was the example that they had, which was a lot different than Google example with Bard, because this one actually worked well. And at some point, they just started, okay, what we could do with it. And then I just said, okay, let's suggest a meal. Actually, it was not a lunch break. It was for after the meeting. So ChatGPT actually suggested the meal. And then they used Dall-E to draw the meal. So you have a picture of how that meal would look. And then they asked ChatGPT to go there and write the recipe. And it did. And then they said, okay, please collect the ingredients and make a list. So we actually made the list, sent it to another app that already sent it to the mobile phone, so they could just go there and shop or touch it to Amazon and have the groceries delivered to them. So it was a very nice example of how everything can, and it's already actually working together. And another thing that they've done there, they've input some tables, and it was a huge, but huge collection of tables, CSV and Excel files of some sort, into ChatGPT. It was many years of tables. And then they just asked it to analyze and output this as a graphic or a couple of graphics. And at some point, they asked it to make a forecast. And then they noticed that, of course, 2023 was very low, because then they realized, and they did not need AI for that, it's incomplete. It's just like 3 months. And then they asked ChatGPT reevaluate the missing data and forecast it for this year. So it actually did that. So we will have to wait until January to see how good did ChatGPT forecast it. But I mean, the result, or what you can already start to do with it, is insane. And this is another one that this is absolutely mind-blowing, and I needed to bring this video for you guys. This crazy dude here, Chris Friend, he posted this on TikTok. And please, I'm sorry for the shakiness, because he was filming it from his VR goggles. And I think he was quite excited with what was happening. So it's quite shaky in the beginning. But what did this guy do? He put ChatGPT into a non-player character inside a virtual reality world. So ChatGPT was actually the pilot behind this character in a game like VR world, and he was talking to ChatGPT here. So these are the things that he used. And by the way, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows what it is, but 11.11 is not working anymore with the collab from Google, at least. So if you used to use it, I guess this is off. If you find a way to keep using it without paying everything you need to do, let me know, because this is something that allowed us to try a couple of different tools. But I'm going to play to you the video of ChatGPT inside a VR world. He actually goes a little bit further with it. I just stopped it here because it's too much of the video, but it's insane to see how you can interact and talk to a character. I can see people just like spending a whole weekend there just talking to others. And maybe we can also have the therapist as a ChatGPT. You just make a virtual therapy room and go there and talk to your therapist. I mean, this could go in so many weird and different ways, but it's insane to see how well it can already work. And this is a bit when I would like to ask the help from Selman, who is probably going to try to help us untie what is behind all this tech. And there's a lot of names and conventions and things going on, and this is a little bit off script. So I'm throwing a hot AI potato to Selman to try to untangle this and see how we can understand it a little bit better. I just brought some of the buzzwords that I see related to AI, but I'd love to see the thoughts of Selman regarding this. And I completely missed my screen, so I'm trying to do it on the wrong one. So let me give you the powers to host the meeting, Selman, and you have the powers right. No, it's not remove Selman. It's actually make host. Yeah. We just cannot hear you still, Selman. I think you are on. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. And after some months, after my 2 years of Switzerland visit, it's really great to see all of you. And today, actually, I want to introduce some concepts about AI and machine learning, or especially the NLP side, and how we combine it with image to introduce those concepts in layman terms, because it's really a hard and a complicated technology or methodology, let's say. So today, my aim is to give you an understanding, a basic understanding of how it really happens, how this magic happens. So I actually generated a presentation, and let me try to share it with you. And okay, first I need to make it on the large screen. Just give me a second. Just a second. Yeah, I hope you all see it.
Yep, your screen is coming.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm working as an assistant professor in Turkey, and I have more than 10 years of experience in machine learning and also in NLP, natural language processing, and also computer vision. And I'm teaching some courses like computer vision or computational photography in the university for master and PhD students. And today I want to, as I told, I want to introduce what is stable diffusion and the large language models and how they work. But as I told, it's a complicated subject, so I want to keep it as much as simplified in order to be understood by all the people around here. Well, because since we are a photo club, actually, I think people are more likely to a tendency to understand what's Midjourney and how Dall-e or Midjourney or Firefly works. And let's start by trying to understanding what is the stable diffusion, because it's, I think, the keyword here, stable diffusion. Well, a stable diffusion, actually, it's a generative neural network, which is influenced by a diffusion theory and physics, and it's able to achieve the following tasks as I've written here, such as, for example, text to image. And this is the thing actually we do most of the platforms. and also image-to-image generations. And by having this ability, we can do in-painting, which is filling the missing parts in the picture, and out-painting, which is actually extending the images by extrapolating the missing pixels. But after we finish this presentation, we will come to a point that the stable diffusion is basically a noise adding and removal technique from images, steered by some text prompts or different kinds of prompts, even, for example, a depth map. Before going on the other slides, I want to tell you that I think there are three important leaps in AI technology when we look at in recent 20 years. One of them is in the invention of convolutional neural networks and the rise of this technique in 2012. And second one is, I think, the invention of the attention mechanism in 2017 by Vaswani and Google teams. And I think the third one is the invention of ChatGPT. Actually, those technologies are part of partly invented before. We were not so bad about NLP or computer vision before, but there were some missing parts. There were some gaps, like the image world and the text world. We were not able to connect them. And your presentation, Cesar, you have shown us how the ChatGPT is incorporated with VR. Actually, this was something that we couldn't imagine maybe 10 years ago, but it's now possible, and we are seeing how it works. This is because in the recent 10 years, or let's say 5 years, we understood how to connect them, how to understand the meaning of the words and other things. So let's go on and try to understand what is stable diffusion. Actually, you see two things here. One of them is the text part, Paradise Cosmic Beach, for example. And you see, after we have the stable diffusion module, we obtain the final image on the right side. Of course, this is the, I think, the main use case of the stable diffusion. But we also have something different, like in addition to text to image and mode, we have another way of using it by making, for example, altering the images. For example, if we give a prompt like a pirate ship on this picture on the left side, you see that on the right side, the picture has been modified in order to have a pirate ship. So this is another use case of stable diffusions. And actually, the technique of the stable diffusion is really very complicated. So today I want to give it in a very low level way, okay, or as an overview. Well, actually, stable diffusion involves some components and models. So it's not a monolithic, a single neural network. It contains, for example, a text understander part, which works like an encoder, and also there's another part which is called image generator. And the text encoder, we use mainly a clip model. Actually, it's a text transformer model, which I will tell it in the later parts in this presentation. And mainly it takes some input text and outputs a list of numbers. Basically, a transformer does this. Get some text, maybe a sentence or a whole paragraph, or even just one single word, and gives you a bunch of numbers to represent it. This is because in real world, we just speak and we communicate by using words, verbs, and sentences. But computers can't understand this. So they only understand from numbers. So we have to represent words, sentences, or paragraphs by numerical system, okay? And the aim of this text transformation, or the blue rectangle here, the encoder part, is getting a text part, a text piece, and represent each word, or we call them as tokens, with some numbers. So we can understand this or think of this as basically a list of very small real numbers. Why we need it? Actually, in Stable Diffusion, we need to hear the image, how it constructs, how it gets constructed. So we need to control the image, right? And the transformers is like a universal adapter for conditioning. Here, the term conditioning is really important, because without conditioning, we can't control the image. We can't get the correct output among the millions and millions of possible combinations. So we need a text vector, which is called text embedding. And this is not only limited to the text. For example, you can give some class labels, or even images, even depth maps. I'm serious, really. You can input a depth map into these models and obtain something different. But normally we use just text to prompt and ask it to produce something for us. Well, I think this part is important, because this part, the next 4 or 3 slides, I want to introduce you what was, is there something like that? Okay. There was a new guest here. Well, I want to introduce what has happened in the NLP world. In past, we were representing the text or a paragraph by the occurrence of each word or the tokens beside. For example, the cat sat on the mat. It's just a sentence, and we are generating a dictionary, like for example, on the left side, you see some unique words, which is our word list. So we were representing the things like this. Is there a problem, Cesar? Yeah. Sorry for the delay. We were representing the texts by occurrence of these words. But these representation.
Now you can share it again. Sorry. Yeah, we're not seeing your screen anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yep, now it's coming.
All right. Before the invention of LSTMs or text transformers, we were representing the words or sentences by the occurrence of each token. But this representation has a very big missing part. We can't define or understand the context of it, or the order of the words are not represented. For example, if you change the sat and the cat, it doesn't change anything at all. So the researchers actually pay attention to this part, and they invented LSTMs. So the order of each word in the text now was counted. This was a big achievement. Unfortunately, this was a bit slow methodology. So in 2017, Vaswani has found to accelerate this by also introducing the attention mechanism. You may ask me, what is attention? Well, this is actually a very basic figure for representing the attention system or the text transformer module. For example, here you see the dog box with just 3 words. The self-attention mechanism in this system actually tries to understand which word or which verb is really important for this sentence. And by using this technique, we have gained speed, and we actually achieved some representations in a way that dog and cat, the representation of dog and cat is very close. As I told you, the representation of each text piece, even if it's a sentence or paragraph, they are just a bunch of numbers. And the recent advances like text transformers or LSTMs, we achieved some representations that, for example, king and queen, the simple words, are close. This means that the numbers you see here for king and queen are close, but they are different than, for example, television. You can think of this even for lengthy sentences or paragraphs. So in the hyperdimensional space, on the embedding space, if a word is similar to another word in the real life, in the real world, the numbers were also close. So the distance between those two words were close. So the researchers actually have invented to represent the words with their meanings. Of course, the computers can't understand what the television is really doing, or what the love means, but the computers are able to represent them with some numbers in a high dimensional space. Actually, the text transformer is really important in stable diffusion, because the clip model, as I mentioned before, is getting our prompt, and then it converts it into some numerals. And for example, stable diffusion version 1 is able to get 77 tokens or words. Actually, it's a token from us, but it's not possible to process more than 77. But I don't know why it's 77. And for each word, it produces a vector. A vector is, as I told, as an array of numbers, and every word is represented by 768 value and numeral values. So it becomes a matrix, and then it will be sent to the noise predictor, which I will mention in a couple of seconds. So we need a control system to steer the image, the output image, and the text transformers are just generating some numerical representations of our sentences or paragraphs. Well, the next part is the main part of the stable diffusion, which is the image generator. And depends on the type, the image generator part may work in pixel space or latent space. If the diffusion model works in pixel space only, we call them diffusion models. But if it works on the latent space, which I will tell you, we call them stable diffusion models. And the image generator gets some text embeddings, a text representation, as you see on the left side on the blue grid, and then it processes it and then output a small feature vector, which will be fed into the image decoder. And image decoder gets this vector and then upsamples it, like for example, 512 by 512 pixel space, and we obtain the image. And let's dive into more detail. The pink part here, the image generation part, or in the slide, so we see image information creator, consists of two things. One of them is a UNet. Actually, it's information compressor, which is a very important concept in computer vision, because it's gets a two-dimensional image and it compresses it step by step till to having a one-dimensional vector. And we call this a latent vector, but I will also introduce in the next slides. So basically, we can think of the UNet as an information compressor, which is actually compressing a whole image into just one vector. Maybe 100 numbers or 200 numbers, doesn't matter at all. But we just need to think of that as an information compressor, because image is information. The vector is also a compressed form of this entity. The scheduler is actually, we add some noise to the image, the input image, or remove this noise. So we need a scheduler to control the amount of noise added to this image. So that's why it's listed in here. And we gradually, it gradually diminishes the level of noise to the image. Okay, let's look at the forward diffusion, which is the first crucial part of stable diffusion. Well, forward diffusion here actually adds a noise to the training image until a point where the image becomes an uncharacteristic noisy image. So we actually putting some noise in the first stage, we're putting noise to the image until to the point where it can't be identified anymore. And here, the main idea is, I think the core idea of stable diffusion is, if we somehow if you have a chance to add noise to the input image and make it something that can't be identified anymore, then can we reverse this process? This is the core idea of stable diffusion. But here the million-dollar question comes: how can we do this? Well, in the picture, you see that from left to right, the image actually is full of noise. The input image is full of noise. And in the fourth step, we see a full picture of cat. But here, there are some intermediate squares which are listed as predicted noise. So when we add the noise to the input image in the first part, the forward diffusion process, we also need to train a neural network to predict how much noise we added. So for each step, we train the neural network to estimate how much noise is added. And we do this because in the reverse process, we will ask it to predict the amount of the noise that it has already added to any input image. For example, here on the leftmost side, we have a full of noise, and we want the neural network to predict the amount of noise. And when it estimates this level of noise, we can subtract it from the full noisy image. And then we obtain the first image. Here you see, it's actually, again, almost very noisy, but we can see very, not fine, but coarse cues of the cat. And then if we iteratively do that again and again, we can obtain the latest image. Actually, in this demonstrative picture, you see only 4 steps, but typically we do this at least 50 times. And here you see another example. For example, this is a very noisy cat image, and then we subtract the predicted noise, which is in the second picture, and then we obtain the final image. So all the things are working around predicting the amount of noise by a neural network. I told you there is a concept of latent space. Well, if you do this, I mean, all the stages, you actually miss something. You do this on the pixel space. All the, for example, predicted noise and all the input image are all in the pixel space. But this is not a very efficient way. So the brilliant idea comes with stable diffusion is the use of latent space representation, where also the UNet comes in. I told you that UNet is an information compressor. So it takes the input image, which is on the leftmost side, and it encodes it. We call it encoding. Actually, it just does compression, and by obtaining some smaller representation by reducing the size of the image till to a point, which is the bottleneck here, till to a point that whole image can be represented by just a list of numbers. I can't, you may think that this is a crazy idea. How, for example, a 1024 by 1024 pixels sized image can be represented by just, for example, 768 different numbers, because it's almost more than 1 million numbers. But here on the left side, which is the encoding process here, we are reducing the information from 1 million or 2 million, let's say, to just 700 different numbers. Well, this is possible because of the theory of manifold theory, but I will not dive into the manifold theory, but I just need to say that the pixel space around us might be seen very probabilistic or random, but unfortunately it's not. The natural pictures, natural images contain some regularities. For example, the human beings, cars, computers, we have some regularities for all these objects. So this is possible, but of course, this is a lossy information, a lossy process, sorry, a lossy process. Or think of this like you have a bitmap picture and you convert it onto the JPEG. And all you know that this conversion is a lossy process. So the decoder side on the right side, right place is this time gets this list of numbers and reconstruct the image on the full size. So the latent tensor or latent vector here is almost more or less contains, for example, 16,384 floating real numbers instead of nearly 1 million numbers, 1 million pixel values. If you were using pixel space, which is already being conducted in the diffusion process, it is actually a very slow process. That's why the first instances or examples of these diffusion models were running so slowly. Maybe you just click on the run button and you wait, for example, 5 minutes. But on the latent space technology, we really reduce the amount of complexity and the time. But you may think that, or you may ask me, where the noise is added. In the pixel space, or you're adding this noise onto the pixels directly. But here, where we can add this noise, we do not add noise to the input image. We add the noise to the latent vector. We add the, for example, we use different techniques to perturbate those values. So, okay. So This is the latent space stuff, and UNet works like this. Actually, it's a U-shaped convolutional neural network, and each level it reduces the size and obtains a more compact representation of the visual information. And there are some skip connections which are represented with these arrows for each level. In order to mitigate this loss process, we feed some of the visual information to the next, the right side for each subsequent levels, which we call them some skip connections. And this is just a compression model, and I think the only thing we need to know about this is the bottom side. And bottom side, we have the latent vector. And in this figure, you can see how this compression is happening. And for each subsequent neural network layers, we obtain more compact representations, because it really compresses information and only the salient features are passed to the subsequent layers. So the UNet, based on a ResNet backbone, is just used to predict the amount of noise. And I want to keep it simple here, not to extend my time, but it is just gets a random latent image tensor, just a noise image, and we ask the UNet noise predictor to predict the amount of noise it has, and then we remove this noise step by step for sure, and then we obtain a vector that we will combine it with the text embeddings, and later on we will obtain the clear image. So the text embeddings or text features or vectors will be processed together with the image data, image vectors. This is the key point of how stable diffusion works. And this is another slide that we see how this process happens. The forward diffusion process and the reverse diffusion process works. For example, the Imagine or Dall-e, the first version Dall-e, they work in pixel spaces, whereas the newer models like Dall-e or Midjourney version 3, 4, 5 benefit from the latent space. So they are much faster than the pixel space stuff. So basically how we do this technically, we generate a random vector in the first stage, just a random noisy image or a vector. And this image is completely in the latent space, and it's completely random. And in the step 2, the noise predictor UNet.
Selman, let me just jump in for a second. I had a couple of people asking me just to put everybody in the same boat here. We're going through this technical part so we can understand how it works, and then we'll come back to how we actually use this with the tools, and then the discussion as what will happen or could happen and the opinions that each of us has. So just to answer some of the questions that were coming here on the chat.
Okay, I couldn't see it. Sorry. I hope I can access to my chat stuff.
No, the chat is coming just to me because I disabled the chat from everyone, so we would focus here. But because of time, Selman, we need to rush a little bit because there's quite a lot.
I am finishing in 2 minutes. Okay, I'm almost done. So the noise predictor just gives us the amount of noise and the vector based. And here we use a cross attention mechanism for people who are really wondering what happens under the hood. We use a cross attention mechanism, and then we obtain a new latent image by subtracting the latent noise here. And on step 4, we use the decoder to upsample the latent image, and we actually does a conversion from latent vector to a pixel space, a real image pixels we obtain. And this is actually a demonstration. And as you see, everything starts with a pull of noise, and then steered by the text prompts, we obtain a car, for instance. Or in the second example, we see how a cat is being generated, 10 different steps, for example. So those are some examples. So my final words, actually a stable diffusion, all this very complicated, it's actually nothing more than a Gaussian noise predictor, a removal system steered by text or different inputs. So the prompting here is getting more and more important to obtain the correct output we really want. So this is the end of my presentation, and for those who really wonder what is more in the concept, can ask me some
Wow.
questions.
And I love it when you say, no, this is simply a Gaussian. Okay, yeah, I it's amazing how you could try to bring it to us in sort of understandable terms for us who are not so
It's really hard.
into it as you are. But
It's really
wow,
hard.
that's a lot. That's really a lot. Thank you so much for
You're
sharing it
welcome.
and for helping us get it a little bit more. And hopefully you can see, yeah, I forgot to go into the intro to you. Sorry about that.
No
Nice
problem.
picture, by the way, yeah.
I all done
And
before.
telling you how, telling everyone how you would rescue us in this labyrinth that is all of this AI things that we can barely understand. And then let's go back to let me just see. Okay, now I can see it all again. Going back to it, okay. You went a lot into the nits and bits of how the tech works, and some of the names that everybody will see are terms like AI, and there's general intelligence, which is the AGI, which is this sentient AI that will become Skynet at some point, which is probably something we are very, very far away. And this is something that we might jump into the discussion later on, but it's just to get some of the names to everyone. And this large language model, which is the LLM, you will probably see many times, is what's behind GPT and then ChatGPT, Auto-GPT, through GPT, whatever GPT people come up with until now. And some of the things that you probably already read is that it's got some limits because it's not they did not give it free access to the web, so it's until 2021. And the models were trained with from 3 billion parameters, which seems quite a lot, which is the Auto-GPT and the other one that I forgot the name now. And if you go for ChatGPT version 4, which is the latest, is 100 trillion parameters. So it's a lot better. And if you compare the results, they are really barely comparable. This one is just so you guys have it there. I'm not expecting anyone to read all of that. This is ChatGPT telling us what are the limitations, which are basically these ones that I told you guys. But in the end, this is one of the great things that I've been using from this AI revolution that saves a lot of time. It's just using this assistant to help in everyday tasks. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this. This is going to be very old tech. I'm going to point it to the camera. This thing, which is a Loupedeck, now I can just program a lot of ChatGPT's operations in these buttons. So whenever I am browsing or I am using Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, I can just touch a button and make a list, summarize, explain, translate. So it's really, really fast to do a lot of things that would take much more time before that. And maybe part of what a lot of you told me that was interesting is discussing how we can use the different stable diffusion models now that we understood that all they are doing is noising an image and then denoising it. It looks easy. And we can try to see how these tools actually work. As Selman told us, This is basically you feeding into this amazing word grinder that Selman explained to us, a prompt, a phrase, and the machine is going to try to transform that into an image. And something that we will notice with time, and if you use the different tools, you have sort of a signature look to each of the models. Each one of these images was created from the same prompt, the same phrase, fed into different models, into different tools, Leonardo.ai, Midjourney, BlueWillow, Firefly, and Dall-e are these 5 ones. And even though many of them say they're trained in the same model, the results are completely different. And also the way you can tell the machine what to do is completely different. I'm not going to go into too many details because this would take us at least 2 hours to go into the details of each of these tools. But you can spend like forever and a couple of days just fine-tuning the prompts. These are just 2 of the tools and just the subjects. And if you click each one of those, it's going to explain to you one of the details of the way you should make your prompt for that tool. On the left is BlueWillow, on the right is Midjourney. It's a lot of things. There are lots of channels, there are tools, there are lots of things trying to just teach you how to tell the machine what you want. The interfaces are quite different also. You have, for an example, this one, which is quite common for BlueWillow and Midjourney. It's everything you have. Just type here what you want, and I'll give you what I want you to have. It's a bit like Ford with the cars. You get exactly what I give you. Or you can have much more complex interfaces, like on the left with Leonardo and on the right with Firefly, in which you can choose just a couple of things, not many, but you can at least manipulate what you are going to get from your command to the machine. This one is a completely different take on it. This is Canvas from NVIDIA, and I'm really going to keep this quite small to you guys. We don't really need the sound, just to see how it works, because here you paint on the left with the things that you want AI to create, and then AI just puts it on the right. So it's painting a path, then it selects, okay, now I want clouds, and you just paint the clouds and AI draws it for you. So this is an amazing, different way to go about it, and is something that illustrates a bit my idea that it is taking away some barriers, because I cannot paint. I have a lot of ideas, but I am absolutely incompetent. I cannot paint. But with this, I can see myself trying to come up with something that I could remotely call art, which I would never do without such a tool. Otherwise, I'm going to do stick figures and a small house on a hill with a sunset behind it. So this is a completely different way to go about it from NVIDIA. And of course, NVIDIA is pushing it, is pushing AI a lot, because they also sell the GPUs that power a lot of the AI. So they have this kind of push-pull strategy in which they're getting both sides to purchase more from them. And if I could go to the next one. Yeah, just you can not control so much. Signature look, we've done. You have just in one of the models, for an example, Leonardo, you have a lot of submodels that you can use for specific things. So if you want like a cartoon thing, you want another one that is more photorealistic, you want one that is for product, you want another one that is just for Minecraft style things, or for clothing, for a gameplay. So there's a lot behind it. And also there are a lot of issues that AI still cannot fix when it tries to remove the noise from those crazy sandy images. For an example, you probably all have already seen some crazy images in which the hands are a bit strange, a bit different from the ones on Earth at least. So you can count lots of crazy fingers going the other way, many more fingers than you usually have. And this is much better on version 5 from Midjourney, but it still plagues most of the models most of the time. We also have some alien visitors, because at times you ask it to generate something and then you can just get some weird, insane results. I guess it was sand on the noise and then it just made something crazy from it. And text. This is way far from anything that the models can really address until now. So you put whatever you want for text and it comes up with the predator alphabet. So it's still a very clear limitation from the models. And they seem to be a bit of LSD addicts, because sometimes you ask them to generate some things that might be normal, but especially on Dall-e, I get these crazy things all the time. Forearms, crazy hair, insane colors, and some crazy details. So this changes a lot from one model to the other. You can improve a lot by improving your prompts. And they also don't listen too well, because here, for example, I'm asking it to generate a Fred Flintstone walking through walking somewhere, and then it gave me this. So it listens to part of what you ask, but it does something. Sometimes it's even similar, but not exactly what you've asked. Or here, a man and a robot shaking hands. It was probably out of the frame when they took the picture. But there's a lot that you need to understand how to get the machine to do what you want. And this is part of why I don't believe so soon that you can actually replace many of the things that people say that will be replaced. So there will not be product photography. It will replace all portrait photographers. Well, good luck trying to get it for now. It will come for sure. But for now, yeah, it's not exactly that direct. Availability is also something. It's reducing the issue, but all of the tools at some point give you something. Okay, I can't do this right now. It's overloaded, too many requests. Or this one from this was Firefly. They do not allow, any of the models do not allow some words, and they always try to keep it PG-13, so you cannot have sexually related images or violence or whatever. But here it censored my prompt because I wrote brain. So you have some limitations that are not so easy to circumvent. And this just to show the complexity that this prompting can achieve at some point. There are tools like this one on the left that are just to help you build the phrase that you're going to feed into a model so it can try to generate an image. There are people teaching courses just about this prompting. And on the right, this is something that is actually amazing. This is a table which styles and names, because if you feed the name to the model, it can sort of direct the image you will get from this kind of style from this person. And this is the copyright area that might be blurry, but this is amazing to actually direct what you want from an image. And then it starts to make much more sense, to my mind at least. And this is the part where I think it starts to get really nice, when we start to put this into the everyday from somebody who is a creator of any kind. And my first question to discuss is, are we trying to sell typewriters? What I mean by that, yeah, somebody invented a computer and some people are saying, no, this cannot be, we cannot have this. I mean, the computer is already here. You can try to sell typewriters as much as you want, but AI is here and it's changed already. It's not something that we can actually say, no, stop producing computers because I have a factory that produces typewriters. It is coming. I think we have to be responsible and understand that a lot of what we are saying is machine learning, and machine learning is here forever. Anybody remembers this? I mean, it tells the age, but this is the first virtual assistant ever. This was the Clippy from Microsoft. I guess this is 90 whatever. And what we are seeing is that Clippy is somehow evolved. Now we have the Clippy AI version. So it's on a steroids, and we have to see how we can use it for the good. This is my opinion. Because AI is absolutely everywhere. If you have an iPhone or an Android phone or Alexa or Spotify, Waze, everything has machine learning inside it. Even This is something that I use a lot. I am not affiliate. I don't get a thing from it, but this helps a lot in writing, especially if you write in a non-native language. It helps a lot, but it's just AI telling you, okay, you've done the same mistake again here when you wrote this or that. Grammar, clarity, or even the tone that you are using. AI is even in my humble website. There's this chat robot there that answers. It's based on machine learning also. So there's no coming back. It's there. The thing is, how are we going to use it? And in photography, I mean, this is also old news. There's AI in a lot of tools. I just had a list here. The most important thing for me is not new. We have some things here that are from 2020 already. So it's been there for a while already. It's just exponentially growing. And the way I like to see it is that it can come to improve what we do actually, instead of taking away from it. And some of the things that we already have is automating the content generation that I already spoke a bit, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. But some of the examples with that controller that I showed you guys, I just can do whatever of these things in one touch. I can translate, I can summarize, make a list, send it to whatever other application. I can write an email that's already sort of set here, or it's already inside Gmail, for an example. So it's already there. I just touch one button, correct a bit, and send it. So it saves a lot of time. Image and graphic generation, we've been talking about it until now, but something that is probably coming is in this virtual and augmented reality area, because there's so much that is still untouched. We just saw the fryer there in the virtual reality world. But for architecture, if you're a construction company and want to sell this new building or this new condo for the customers, I mean, you can use it for so much. Video editing, yeah, we saw the video, so I don't need to repeat it, but everything is getting automated. So you can do much more, investing less time, and you don't need to invest in years of training at some point, maybe. One of the discussion is that this could lead to mediocrity. This could lead to people just going there and punching a filter on Instagram to try to make whatever photo look nice. And this is something we have already seen. Maybe it's going to come again, but I believe it's going to come to a balance at some point. You can use it for a lot of things. Content optimization, for an example. I'm going to show it here, another example. This is actual example. I was doing some things that I wanted to post, and I just asked what kind of captions could I use for some images for a new website that I will have an Instagram profile, and what kind of hashtags should I use. It just put it here to me on a table. So easy. It just went there, collected, so it takes away a lot of the work. But of course, you have to go there, read it, and make sure that it makes sense. It's just not a magic oracle that's going to tell you all the right answers all the time. And almost coming to the discussion part of our conversation, copyright. AI is being used, even though very poorly, to detect copyright issues, but they are still very bad at it. So somebody input the whole US Constitution, and it said like 90-something% certainty that it was written by AI. So AI has been there for a while. Somehow I'm seeing oh, sorry, wrong screen. Yep. So this is just starting, but it's starting very fast. It's difficult to keep up. I'm just listing some ideas, and then we open for whatever ideas and discussions we might have. Text to video is almost there. It's still not good, but it's getting there. It's going to be insanely good. I do a lot of video, and it helps insanely if these things can come and exist. 3D rendering is absolutely gorgeous. And if you Google and search for NERF, this is absolutely insane. From photos, it can generate 3D content, and you fly as if it were a drone, but it's not. It's just generated from 2D photos, but it's absolutely realistic. It's really amazing. Animation is going to be done for sure. Coding is already getting so much easier, and this can influence what you and I can do, because if you don't need to be a coder anymore to generate your own app or to generate something that can help your process, your creative process. We've gone through all of this a bit and then some, and these are just some of the places and resources where you can find a lot of different things. So you can have an image database, you can have CEO automation. There is ways to write SEO and other things. You can do social and dating profiles. I mean, there's everything. You can code on Amazon, you can just do audio, you can do everything. There was sometime this phrase, there's an app for that. Now there's AI for that. And with this kind of horizon, with these kinds of ideas, what could come and what can still be is what I'd like for us to discuss a bit. If we think this is against, so this is AI versus creation, or is this AI working for creation? And this is a bit what I would like. Let me just unmute everybody. There should be a way here. Okay, so everybody should be able to talk now. If not, just tap the unmute and you should be able to do it. And the idea here, I mean, we are still 14 survivors until now, but the idea is to try to get a bit into this discussion. What tools do you find interesting? What do you think might happen? How is this already touching your workflow? This might be a nice place to start if somebody would like to jump in.
Just for photography, or, sorry, go on.
Okay, I guess I would like to ask a question to Selman. I'm a retired programmer, and of course I'm always interested in using APIs. And my problem with the AI software, as I know it's now, is you always get outputs, but it's impossible to tell if it's really good or if it's bad, because you always get an answer. And my question is, in some kinds of software, you have something called a confidence level, so you can tell how good it is or how bad it is. And my question is there something like this also in APIs from ChatGPT? I was looking for to it, but I didn't find one. I only found for the input you can give in what's called the temperature, and then you can, and maybe you can tell something about this.
Yeah, it's a great question, I think. Well, seems that you have some experience about neural networks or API as well. Confidence is something really gives us insight about the correctness or factual of the decision of the neural network has made. But unfortunately, except the ChatGPT, we really can't very trust to this confidence level, because all the neural networks are all contain some bias
Yes.
of the training data. So normally on a classification neural network, for example, this is a cat or this is a dog. If the neural network says that it's okay, 95% of it's cat, I really can't trust this information, because I have very deep experiences with these neural networks. However, ChatGPT stands in a very different place, because ChatGPT's philosophy is using not supervised learning. It's about, of course, it uses some supervised learning in some internal stages, but it mainly relies on reinforcement by use of or utilizing some human annotators or human labelers. So human mind has intervened into the training of the ChatGPT. The neural network knows whether it really knows the answer or not, but it causes another problem we call hallucination. You probably have heard this hallucination. It hallucinates, so it's the main problem here is, to be honest, people are thinking that ChatGPT is really thinking, but unfortunately, it doesn't think.
It doesn't know. No.
It's the training scheme of ChatGPT first starts with an unsupervised way. What is that? It actually takes millions of documents and looks at sentences and tries to understand the context. For example, it's really perfect about predicting the next word or next sentence after you give a sentence or a word. But this is also a stochastic problems. I mean, these are probabilistic. So all of the process is like a chain. The probability of the next word and the probability of the next word, next word, next word, next word. So the ChatGPT here actually differs from the other methodologies by using reinforcement learning, and it actually has attempted to really select the best answer, because it normally produces lots of answers. When you type something and when you click on press on enter, it normally outputs different answers. Maybe they are close, maybe they are different, but it knows how to select the best one among the produced answers. This is actually a result of human intervention in the training stage of it. So your question is, except for ChatGPT, the confidence level, to be honest, doesn't mean anything for me, because when you train the neural network with some limited data, and data is really expensive and important and hard to collect, labeled data, I mean, ChatGPT here is more, how can I say, I can really trust ChatGPT because I tested it in many ways, in academic way and also in the business way. You can trust it, but you need to pay attention to the hallucinations, because if it doesn't know the fact, it tries to output something. And when you, for example, you say that you are wrong, it automatically, in most of the cases, not all of them, but in most of the cases, it says, oh, sorry, I apologize, I did some mistake, and here is the correct answer. But why you produce the incorrect answer in the one stage before? Why you already told this incorrect answer?
But Selman, down to the earth for a normal person, maybe to a normal person, I would say that ChatGPT, and this is important because I use it and helped me in many things, but you need to know about the subject. It cannot be just copy and paste, because not only some answers can be incorrect, not many actually, but some are incomplete. And you need to know, you cannot just do copy and paste and trust blindly. You need to look at the answer and see if it makes sense and if it looks correct, because if you just do copy and paste, it can be a big trouble. Just my opinion, my humble opinion as a user.
Yeah, we agree, because then it does things with you, not for you. It simplifies, but you still do. It's not something to replace the user work.
Absolutely. For instance, I can give you an example. Ask him a script to do something. Sometimes he does, the script does a cycle and then uses this function to calculate. But sometimes that function does not exist. It's not on the script. And if you run that, you get nothing. For instance, you as you are a developer, imagine that's how to do in C++ or C#, a function does a loop, a for cycle, and then puts a function in the middle that calculates what you are looking for, but doesn't give you the function. And then you have an incomplete answer that doesn't help you. And sometimes the function is a crucial thing that actually you're looking for. This is just an example of that. And also, if you ask for a presentation letter for a job, it can give you something a bit, could be funny, the context and things like that. As Cesar was saying, it does not replace your work, helps you on your work. You can be critical and evaluate the answer. That's my opinion. Sorry to interrupt you, Selman, just simplify.
Antonio, you're very rightful actually about your comments. We are all experiencing these issues in the ChatGPT because, as I told, it doesn't reason. it doesn't reason like we do as human beings. It actually, think of a ChatGPT as a person who have read all the books in a library. Now it has notions for every topic, and then it's automatically gaining an ability to make up something, right? Actually, ChatGPT is very good about Python scripting, but this is just for the training set, just because of the diversity of the training set. For example, a friend of mine who is electronic engineer, and he asks ChatGPT for writing some functions, but those functions, in most of the cases, do not exist on the internet. It's proprietary functions, and it's in most of the cases it wrongly answers. It gives incorrect answers because it's all about the training set.
And there's something, just to jump together with you, Selman. This is something that also Barbara asked here in the chat. ChatGPT is trained by some things that we don't really know so much, but just what's available online. And one of the questions that she asked here is, how can we improve the answers we get? Something that I tried, and it works sometimes, not always, but you still need to check what it feeds you back, is ChatGPT has no memory, so to say. So you talk to ChatGPT today, and then you close this window and you come back. It does not have the memory from what you've exchanged with him, unless you have this, you keep this open window with it. So it remembers the things that you fed into it. So for an example, I have one window with ChatGPT in which I fed him all the information about our meetup group and Facebook group and how we work with the photography group. So when I come back to this window and I ask ChatGPT some of these things, which it would not know if I had not fed it into him, then it can bring you some better results, but it is still not going to know everything. It's not going to know all the right answers, but you can indeed improve a bit the things that it has. Some people trained it, for example, in other languages, or some things that are not in his in its database, because they are after 2021, and it can actually interact with you based on what you feed into it. But it's never going to be, I mean, not never, but it's still not this perfect machine that can answer everything and do everything for you.
Also, another thing that is core is the quality of the prompting. The better you prompt it, the better results you're going to get. It's crucial, it's core, the quality of your prompts.
If you don't ask correctly, I mean, you will get an answer. This is what someone was saying.
You
It will always
get an
answer. But if you don't ask correctly, it will answer you something. So
Exactly.
for image creation with stable diffusion, or for ChatGPT, or for even talking between us here, I mean, you sort of need to know what you're asking, but you also
ask
need
it correctly, formulate. Sorry,
yeah.
Well, there are lots of hundreds of topics that we really can discuss about ChatGPT, but let me share an experience of me. A company which I was consulting was asking me to plug the ChatGPT into their system, and this company is about psychological support, okay, for people, and they want me to train a neural network as if it's behaving like a ChatGPT by providing their own training data. And later on, we noticed that ChatGPT is really better than many of these psychologists, the answers of the psychologists, because they are more comprehensive stuff. Regarding the memory stuff, I think actually I don't agree very much about the topic that it doesn't include any memory. It includes. When you do not clear the cache, when you do not clear your session, I mean your question and your answers, if you do not clear that window, when you ask another thing, when you prompt another thing at the bottom of that page, it automatically includes all the texts it already responded before. So this actually creates a new content. So it memorizes. This is called technically text-grounded question answer system. It's called text-grounded because in early research in NLP world, we normally used a way to, for example, you provide a book page and ask, for example, what was the name of the hero? And the machine learning model or the NLP model was trying to find out the person name who was the hero, but based on your input, because you already give a book page. But the second mode, which we use the internal data in the ChatGPT, is knowledge seeking. This is called knowledge seeking. And this is, I think, the most valuable thing because you do not provide any input data there. And that's why we are facing different biases and sometimes incomplete data. Because as Cesar told us, its training data is limited to 2021, and it doesn't know many new facts in recent 2 years. But it's really ready to make up everything. It's very brave about this thing.
Who's going to fire it if it answers something wrong, right?
Cesar, actually, I have some concerns about those new technologies because, first of all, they are not correctly reasoned. They are just pattern learners, but very clever pattern learners, high complexity pattern learners. And people are thinking that they are really reasoning like human beings. This is very dangerous because this is completely incorrect. One problem we really observe in ChatGPT use is the education, because people are really using this for cheating or finding things, and I think this pushes the people towards the laziness. Information is there, and even I know some people who are abandoning the use of Google. They are asking everything on ChatGPT, but this is harmful. Because you can't really rely on one large language model. It may contain incorrectness and it may hallucinate. So I think ChatGPT is really good when you really know the topic. For example, if I'm a good Python programmer and if I need a code, which I can also write by spending maybe 15 minutes, but I can automatically make it generated for me. This is a very useful use case, but there are some concerns about different use cases. On the other side, I want to share another fact. For example, in Turkish, we provided 750 different questions written in a very bad Turkish grammar. And interestingly, ChatGPT is very great at resolving every tokens and understand the meaning. Normally, this was not something we expect from other language models like Roberta, BERT, or other kind of not very state-of-art things, but they are good. But they are not very good at resolving badly written sentences. Imagine a sentence or a paragraph without any question mark, without any dot or comma, and just 80 or 90 words, and with a very bad grammar. And they are real-world sentences from foreigners. And ChatGPT is really good at resolving and understanding the meaning. Because of what? Because of the transformer model I mentioned today. Because of the attention mechanism. And it's really good at resolving which words are relating to other words and blah, blah. So it's really good at this. But on the response side, I can't guarantee. And one another potential problem from my perspective is, this is my own opinion, according to my humble opinion, Google or other search systems.
But you have ones based in AI, like U.com and Bing AI. They are there. You can use those. They're search engines only based on AI.
Anjuna, technically, I am not against to incorporating AI into search engines. But here there is a potential risk for the future. According to my idea, Google or other search engines are not harming to the sector because the content creator websites are earning money or making profit, and Google is just giving some links. But ChatGPT is harmful because it doesn't pay anything to those companies or content creators, but the ChatGPT utilizes all the contents they already created. So if this happens over and over and over and over, people will not go to their websites, and this will harm their business. I mean, the content creators. So what will happen? This will cause the end of their business. So,
but don't you think that is a little bit like Napster did to the music industry? And they had to change and adapt.
Yeah, they changed, adapt, but the content creation is costly, not free.
Yeah, music creation is also, and was
Exactly.
also.
No record company makes money anymore. And you can get Spotify for free.
Yep. But then it changed the model completely. So they all needed to adapt in a way. So they needed to sell more shows or sell more whatever. So, I mean, I also would say that when Napster was invented, I mean, it was really destructive, but it is a force that we can't really stop.
But you know, Napster when was invented, before there were already standalone software to create music by the meter, like people say as a joke. So they existed in the 90s, I think, or beginning of 2000. So
but this kind of streaming was with Napster. They started like downloading and pirating even more, because piracy is there since, I mean, 1500s.
And I mean, that's the way that search is working. I do a lot of ad stuff, and I spend most of my life in China. Majority of searches for products aren't done on a search engine. They're done within a shopping site, and they're done by voice. So it is voice search within a shopping site, and the responses and product shots are AI generated. So you don't actually see the actual physical packaging. You see the label cut in a way that is most responsive to you. And the last ad that I put out automatically recut itself. So it's for Agoda, the holiday place. And depending on your search history, social and whatever, we can cut 14,000 versions of that ad to represent exactly the family that you have and the kind of vacation you want to go on. Now, I hate it in terms of the creativity involved, but you know what? With the right amount of frequency, it works better than anything we've ever done. So it becomes really interesting, because I love it as a tool. I love the fact that I go, why does something have to be there for me to photograph it? Why can't I photograph what I wish was there? And that gets really, really fascinating at that point, where I go, well, I don't have to photograph reality. I can photograph imagination.
And you can even pick it even more, because what you photograph is not necessarily reality, because you create it in a way. So you pose people, or you make people do these amazing things that you do. You direct them, and you are amazing at that in your pictures. So it's also not exactly the reality, but it's a representation of the reality. So it's the same, but it's not.
Yeah, and it used to just be that we couldn't do it. I remember shooting a Levi's ad that looked like it was on the moon, and I needed $1.2 million to do it. Now I can do it for maybe 12,000. And it just opens up that thing that used to be kind of specialist and effects companies. So I love it from the creativity side. I think a lot of the criticisms we have of things like ChatGPT, give it a year. A lot of the stuff it's just in its infancy and it's clumsy, but it's all getting better. And there's a million moral issues, I know, but I don't think you can stop people stealing content. People have stolen content since the dawn of time.
Yep.
Steve, you can one of these days, not far, you can dedicate yourself to the hobby of photography without even having a camera. Just generate
you can already.
Camera and
you actually can already.
Yes. So
I personally wonder, Cesar, I personally wonder your opinion about whether those tools will really harm to the stock photography.
They have already changed it a lot, but there's a huge, with a pun intended here, huge but here, because there's always something. AI cannot still, but probably will, cannot create something perfect. So there was even this thing, and I even posted about it. I can share the link afterwards. The guy, the German guy, he posted one, he submitted one photo created by, I think it was, I don't remember which tool he used, but he won the Sony Photography Award with it. So there's sparkled a lot of discussions and a lot of things, but there are a lot of issues. If you check the hands, if you check the artifacts in so many areas, so it still cannot do it. And the second thing, stock photography, if you go for general scenes that are just going to be posted online, you can already do it today. I mean, I have been posting, and there are automated websites in which you can just feed the directory and they will post everything. So stock photography was already, in my opinion, garbage, because people do crazy great work and they post it there to receive, like, I don't know, a couple of cents depending on which website you use, and they hope they will get paid by selling millions of photos, which, I mean, it's a long time since it was like that. So it's going to get flooded. I mean, it's already flooded from AI images. Some of the stock agencies, they don't accept AI images yet, but many of the big ones do. So it's already flooded. You can go there and you will see so many photos, and it's so easy to generate them and to post them. So what is going to happen is it's easy to generate, it's cheap to generate, but there's a lot of options. So even less people will sell pictures. So they will make even less money. So in a way, it was a dying industry that was just like the last sand was thrown on top of the thumb.
Yeah, no, stock and product are things that, as I said, I worked for advertising agencies for the longest time. And this year we stopped buying.
Yeah.
So the Getty subscription for the agency, and the agency's what, 11,000 people, runs out this year and it will not be renewed.
It's too easy to get it from somewhere online. But if you need the general thing, where I think it is still going to exist, but is certainly going to be changed, is for an example, I shoot for restaurants, and a restaurant needs exactly his burger, or exactly whatever he wants, or that this restaurant needs. So this AI cannot do still, but they might come to that. I am actually experimenting with 3D rendering of some of these products, but it's not automatically generated yet. But of course, you can make a lot of pictures and train a model. This is something we can go into any of these stable diffusion models. You can train it for an object or a face if you feed it well enough and correctly. And then if you prompt it correctly, it can generate, I can take some pictures of Selman and generate a lot of different characters. It can be like a knight, it can be like a superhero, it can be like a child, because we've trained it. But in product, I think there's still a long way to go to be able to replace this specific products. If you go for general images, like stock images, like lifestyle, they're already dead. It's too easy to get. It's just seen in small screens. Nobody's going to pixel peek and see the tiny details that are false. So I think this is now it's even easier for people to just go there, post 10 images a day and receive 100 francs a year.
I want to approach this topic in a bit more information theoretic window. Imagine when you, for example, do in paint, and I will also talk about neural radiance field that you call NERF. Well, NERFs are very slow, I think, and not perfect, and probably will not. Let's look at the problem about those in painting and NERF stats. When you, for example, in paint something in the Photoshop or other very talented tools, you still observe some problems there, because it doesn't learn the context, and those AI tools or models are just learning patterns. Suppose that, for example, on a very how can I say, let's say, clear a mountain, a house from a mountain landscape. And if you, for example, train your model with similar patterns by using a very, for example, unfamiliar object there, it doesn't need to be there. It's not supposed to be there. But if you train it in a wrong way, it will put it there because it doesn't understand the context. I think the issues will remain for a couple of decades, I think, because the computers or these neural networks are not context-based, although we name them, okay, context-aware, context, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not thinking or reasoning or inferring like we human do.
They're fancy calculators, just that, right?
Yeah, because human beings are learning by examples with very few shots. For example, when you first touch a very hot stone and you immediately learn that it's hot and you shouldn't touch it again. You don't need to experience it for hundreds or millions of times, but neural networks have to do this. That's why they are not actually learning as we human beings do. This is the problem. This is the real problem. And the main problem of neural networks are the diversity of data, actually the lack of data, the distribution. Because if you sample a concept from, for example, United States, the neural network will adapt itself to answer based on the facts about United States. That's why many researchers in recent years have attempted to collect data regardless of the topic from all around the world. It's a phishing site or not, it's a legitimate mail or not, from different languages, from different people, from different ages, just to avoid the bias. This is the problem. And let me tell you the funny thing. Without bias, neural networks can't learn. It has to be there.
Yeah, but I think there's a, there's an interesting question about the need for creativity in the first place, because 90% of everything looks exactly the same.
Yep.
It's a brilliant presentation at the moment about how everything's been optimized to average. Every city, every house, every Airbnb, every movie poster, every ad during COVID, even the top 20 Instagram influencers, because they use the same filter, look like the same woman. They've got the same hairstyle. So when 90% of commercial creativity is identical, use it for the 90%. Like why have people churning that? Because I know exactly what these things need to look like, and the bias works for me there.
Unless you want to be the different one and you like it, there's no point. You're totally right. Why would you insist on being the different one? Those are the crazy artists, right?
Yeah, and it's really sad. I'll put it in the thing because the guy wrote it brilliantly, the effect of everything. But it is terrifying when you look at the kind of best-selling house design around the world. It's the same in about 25 countries. We're just, every car looks exactly the same. So it's a really interesting piece, which is kind of, it will be interesting to see whether we optimize to even more identical.
Yeah, we're flocking to the same.
That's the bias, that's where it is. And then there'll be some people that are using this as a tool to be more creative. And in other places, it is a tool for very fast production of what was really generic in the first place.
And we are doing this as mankind, right? Because we're just getting more shallow to everything we do, producing more, consuming more, but in a very shallow depth. And this is a bit what we have been doing a lot. Every generation, every year, everything you see is more and more the same and more shallow, in my opinion. Just 1 second before we go any further, because we are approaching the 9 o'clock. I can stay, and I hope you guys can also stay. I would love to go further with this. I just want to make sure we go through while we still have some people that might leave at 9. through the very last two things, which is, first of all, thanks for anyone who's leaving before we continue this existential talk, which I hope we will do. And special thanks to Selman for jumping in and sharing with us a lot with trying to make this a little bit more understandable for the non-introduced to these techie things between us. And something that I am going to share with you guys as we finish a little bit later. I would really appreciate to get some feedback, what you guys thought of it. Should we try to go further and do more of these discussions or specific things? For an example, specific chats about ChatGPT. I know from Barbara already, she would love to have it, but I would like to have this information from you all. Do we go deeper into some of these tools, like the stable diffusion ones, specifically each one of the tools or generically from the tools? And also some people were asking if we're going to go into some photography workshops, like fundamentals of photography and post-processing. So I would love to read some more from you guys. I will send an email with the feedback form, which is very short. 3 questions, 40 seconds, AI can answer it for you, but I would love to hear back from you.